Did you know that it's super common for people to buy sewing machines because they're excited to start sewing their own clothes, only to get the machine home, look at it and go, never mind, put it back in the box and then hide it in their closet, never to actually use it? This is so common, so if it's happened to you, don't worry, you're not alone. But I will tell you, the longer you let this sit in your closet, and every time you open the closet, you have this feeling of like, oh, I bought it, I don't know how to use it, and it goes on, the worse this is going to feel. It's going to seem like this really big, insurmountable task, but I promise you, it's actually a lot easier than you think. So let's face our fears today and actually unbox this and get started using it. Hi, my name's Abby and I help absolute beginners just like you start sewing their own clothes all the way from the very beginning. This is why we're starting here. So if you have a machine in a box somewhere, go grab it, pause this video so we can do this together. Okay, did you do it? Did you go get your box? I hope so, because we are going to start opening this. So I think it's pretty straightforward that we open the box. And you might find, as the first thing in here, is some piece of cloth or fabric. This is a dust cover, and I will show you this momentarily. And the dust cover that we talked about, this thing, is when you're not using your machine, you can take this and put it over the top. So that way it doesn't get dusty while you're not using it. Okay, hence the term dust cover. Easy. So it is off for now. Once you take the machine out of the box, you should find a couple of things. We should find the machine itself. Perfect. We should also find some cables, okay? So I'm gonna just center part out. It's just a little box. And inside this box, we have the foot pedal. Just a hunk of plastic, really, but it's a pedal, like the pedal in your car. And there are some wires attached to it. Is that we have the foot pedal with a wire connecting it to this big hunk of plastic. And then it splits off in two different directions. And then this goes to our power cable. Most mechanical sewing machines will have this setup where the power cable and the foot pedal are connected, one long piece of cable basically, but you might have a foot pedal and your power cable separate. It doesn't change the functionality, it just looks a little different. So we have the machine, we have the foot pedal and the power cable. And the other thing you'll probably find somewhere in the box, I just have it hidden in here already, is the accessory bag. Okay, so you'll probably find some bag with lots of little sewing pieces in it. We don't even need to worry about these today, but if you have them, you will typically find somewhere over here a piece of your machine that will slide off like this. I just slide it sideways this way towards me. And then there'll be some kind of door or compartment where you can hide your accessories. Okay, now these are important, but I just want to start easy peasy today. So for now, just take these and tuck them out of your way. Okay, so now inside the box, we found the machine, the power cable, the foot pedal, the accessories, and the last thing that you should find is the manual. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally throw the manuals away for all of my equipment because I can find the online version. I would not suggest that for your sewing machine. This is going to be your best friend if you have any questions about your sewing machine, how to change the tension, how to change the stitch length, how to thread your machine. The answers will be in here. If you try to go online and type how to thread a sewing machine, it's going to show you 1,000 different machines. None of them are yours, and the instructions aren't going to be quite what you need for your machine. So my best advice is to use your manual, go through it step by step, and just look at the diagrams and see if you can figure it out that way. It's your best first course of action. And if that doesn't work, you can always go to the internet and ask people questions. I have a Facebook group, you can post them down below. But this is always a good thing to do first before you try to find answers other places. Okay? So inside the box, these are the primary things you will find no matter what sewing machine you have. And if you have all of them, then perfect, everything's good, and we're ready to actually start setting the machine up so we can use it. Okay, so we're gonna wanna find a tabletop, a clear work surface that we can put the machine on, and it needs to be somewhere near an outlet because we do need power or electricity to turn this on and use it, okay? So I'm going to use this table right behind me, and it's in the video, and you can see I have a clear work surface, and here is my outlet. So once you have your area picked out, we're going to go to the front right corner of the table. That's the best place to set a sewing machine. The more you play with this, the more this will make sense, but just trust me for now. And then we're going to take our power cable and plug it into the machine. Now, this will always be over here on the right side, somewhere on the lower half, okay? Now, you might have one cable like this one, or you might have two like this one. Either way, we're going to plug them in. Then we're going to take the other end of the power cable and plug it into the wall. And then the foot pedal, we are going to place beneath the table, directly beneath the sewing machine. Now, this foot pedal is going to act just like the foot pedal in your car. So if you drive, that's awesome. If you don't worry, you will figure this out. But basically, if you press the pedal gently, the machine will go slower. If you press it harder, it will go faster. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to talk about that more soon. So, on the topic of setting up your machine, the last step we need to do is actually turn it on. So now that we've set it on the table in the front right corner, we've plugged it in, and we put the foot pedal beneath it, we can turn on the power switch. Now again, this will be right by where we plugged in the machine. Somewhere right above where you plugged it in will be a switch. And when you click this, you will actually notice that a light comes on your sewing machine, and that means it's on and ready to sew. Okay, before we jump into using the machine, I do want to explain a couple of the really important parts that you need to know. So the first one is the hand wheel. So on this right side again, where we've been working, at the very top, notice a big round knob. This is the hand wheel, and we always want to turn it towards the front of the machine. Why? Because this is a mechanical piece of machinery basically, and if you turn it away from you, you're putting the whole thing in reverse, and you can accidentally misalign the mechanical pieces in there. And that would be no good. You'd have to bring it in to have somebody realign it. Let's not do that. And try to always remember to turn this hand wheel towards the front. Now, if you forget sometimes, it's not going to be the end of the world, but just try to get in the habit, okay? Don't freak out about this. I promise it's going to be fine, but good habits, okay? Turn this towards the front. Turn it towards you, okay? Practice that now, turning your hand wheel towards you. Okay, so when we turn the hand wheel, we should notice something over here moving. What is it? It is the needle. So when we turn the hand wheel, this is how we manually move the needle, which you might need to do this for a couple of different reasons, but just remember turning the hand wheel also moves the needle, okay? And the needle's down here. Directly beneath the needle is the presser foot. Okay, now the presser foot will be more important in a minute, but just know that this piece is called the presser foot, and it actually moves up and down. And we move it up and down using what's called the presser foot lifter. Okay, so this is going to be in one of two places. The presser foot lifter will either be on the back of the machine or it will be in what is commonly called the throat of the machine. Okay, so look on your machine and figure out, is yours in the back or is it in the throat? Did you find it? Good. Now that you found it, try moving your presser foot up and down. Now you will find that if you just press, if you like push it but don't hold it, it's quite loud. Don't worry, your machine is made to withstand this, but you can be a little gentler to your machine and actually hold this and move it up and down at a slower pace. It also helps not to scare yourself, because that happens to me a lot. So, are you moving your presser foot up and down? Yay! Okay, perfect. There is one more thing that I want to explain to you that I feel like most people or most sewing classes that I've seen and tutorials skip. And I think this makes it really hard for you to understand how the sewing machine works. So I want to show it to you. Now, if we look at the front again, beneath the presser foot, we see these little, actually, let me remove the presser foot. We see these little ridged textured surfaces. Don't poke yourself with the needle, but do try touching them. And are they smooth or are they rough? And you probably will find that they are rough. When rough is the sound that a dog makes, and these are actually called feed dogs. Yes, this is my sense of humor. So here we go. Okay, so the feed dogs, what happens is they actually come up and pull the fabric through the machine for you. So if we look at this from the front and from the side slowly, you can see that the feed dogs come up at the front, go to the back, and then go down into the machine, and keep repeating this over and over. Okay, so why do I point this out? Because when we get to sewing, you are not going to push or pull your fabric through the machine. This is really similar to driving a car. I'll say that over and over, but it would be crazy for you to try to push the car, right? That makes no sense. You actually press the foot pedal and the car goes forward. What do you do as the driver? You turn the hand wheel or the steering wheel, the steering wheel to move the car from side to side. It's the exact same with your sewing machine. You're going to press the foot pedal and the feed dogs are going to press up against the presser foot and it's going to pull the fabric through the machine for you. You will just turn the fabric side to side. But don't worry, we're actually going to see that soon. So, now that we've seen all the parts, I lied, there's one more part. So here, the feed dogs are actually inside of this. It's this metal plate on the base of your machine. This is called the needle plate. And on the needle plate, we can see that there are these lines to the right of the needle. These are going to be important in the next step. So just to review really quick, we've talked about the hand wheel, the needle, the presser foot lifter, the feed dogs, and the needle plate. Have you found all those on your machine? If you haven't, really pause this video and find them, because knowing what these are is going to make the next step even easier. Now that your machine is out of the box and set up and you know some of the basic pieces, let's actually start using it. So what we want to do is take our presser foot and make sure it's down. So use your presser foot lifter and move it so it's down. And then we are going to turn our machine on. And then we can press the foot pedal. Now, I really want you to do this. I want you to put the presser foot down, turn your machine on, and press that foot pedal, because I promise you it's going to be scary at first because you've never done it, but the more you do this, the easier it will get and you will start feeling comfortable with your sewing machine. Okay, so I want you to press the foot pedal however you want first, but then try to see how slow you can get your machine to go and then how fast you can get it to go, just so you can start feeling the range of what's happening here. Now, I told you to put your presser foot down before we started. Why is that? The reason is because the presser foot, if we look at it from the side, can wiggle up and down, right? And when the presser foot is not directly flat, when the needle moves, it could hit it. And if that happens, then it could break the needle, which don't worry, your machine is designed for that to happen if it needs to. But if the needle breaks, that little piece that breaks off could fly somewhere. It could hit you, nick you a little bit. And we want to avoid this if we can. There's no reason to break needles unnecessarily. And your machine actually, when you actually thread it and start using it properly, will not work right if you don't have the presser foot down. So for safety reasons and for functionality, we're going to put the presser foot down before we ever start sewing. Okay? Perfect. So put your presser foot down and practice this until you feel comfortable. So again, pause the video, and when you feel comfortable with the speed of your machine, then we're gonna actually start sewing with fabric. Okay, I lied just a little bit. I said fabric, but we're not gonna use fabric like you think of like clothing. We're going to use paper as if it was fabric. Now, I do have this handy printable. If you'd like it, you can grab it down below in my beginner's course, but you can also just draw lines on a piece of paper. It's up to you. So what we're going to do is take this and put it in our machine. And to do that, we're going to raise our presser foot, take the paper, put it under there, and then lower our presser foot. The first time you put this through your machine, I don't want you to touch the paper at all. Just don't touch it at all, at all, at all. And press the foot pedal and see what happens. I want you to see how those feed dogs are pulling the fabric through for you, okay? You are not pushing or pulling anything. Now, you might notice the paper doesn't stay very lined up. That will be your job. But this first round, we're looking at just that it goes through by itself. You're not pushing or pulling. Then we're going to take this off and we're going to look at the little holes that we've created. Now, what I want you to notice here is how evenly spaced all of these holes are, okay? When you let the machine run properly and you don't push or pull it through, it will do beautiful, evenly spaced stitches every time, okay? So now what I want you to do is try this again, but the second time, actually try steering your paper and seeing if you can sew in a straight line. Okay, did you do your practice run? I hope yes. And now I want you to look at the holes from your second run. Were the holes as evenly spaced as the first time, or are they a little bit more spaced apart or a little bit close together or changing along the line? Don't worry if they're changing, that happens all the time, but this is a good indication that as of now, you're not using your machine correctly. So keep practicing this until you can sew something that's pretty straight and the space between the holes is nice and even. This will give you an idea of how it should feel when we start sewing with actual fabric. That way you're not pushing or pulling or messing with the machine, because it will make this process harder. So practice this until you feel comfortable. Sewing straight lines, there are a couple of things you need to know. One, don't look at the needle. It's going to be really common and really easy for you to do this. It's human nature. We're kind of wired this way, that when things are moving, our eyes are drawn to them. Try not to. It will kind of make you dizzy after a while, and it's not the best way to sew straight, okay? A better option is to keep your eye here in the front corner of your presser foot and look at the distance between your presser foot and one of the lines. Try to keep this space nice and even the entire way along your piece of fabric, the paper. Okay, now we can see on this that my line isn't super straight, but it's all pretty much within that gray line, right? This is perfect, okay? Your lines do not need to be any straighter than this. If you are keeping your stitches within one of those thick gray lines, that's perfect. You are ready to start sewing. The issue is if your lines are really jagged. So I will show you a demonstration of that. If you're trying to correct, and by correcting, you're moving your fabric really quickly around, you're going to end up with lines like this that have these jagged little points. This is where you're going to notice that you have problems when you sew fabric and your seams look a little bit funky. So that will happen later, but now is a really good time to practice and make sure that your lines are smooth, even if they're not exactly straight. Okay? And again, if they're staying within this thick gray line, that is straight enough. I've been sewing for 15 plus years and my lines, that's how I sew. Okay? I promise you it's enough. You don't need to be any straighter than that. Now that your machine is out of the box and you're sewing straight lines, I hope that you're feeling much more confident and excited to start your sewing journey. The next step is actually threading your machine and then sewing your first project. Now, of course, there's a million resources out there for you to use, which you're welcome to. But if you'd like to sew with me and learn every feature on your sewing machine, how to troubleshoot it if things don't go well, and make a DIY skirt like this one all in just 2 weeks, then be sure to join my class below. I love helping absolute beginners start with confidence and with speed because I feel like a lot of people spend months and years never creating something they actually enjoy. So if you would like to hang out with me, the link's below. Otherwise, here's some other great sewing videos for you. And don't put the machine back in the closet. Please keep making progress. I know you can do this. And if you have any questions at all, let me know down below. You've got this. Happy sewing.